preamble. The preamble basically is going to talk about pretty much admonish us on what I will call the A to Z of export benefit. Why we should export. Why we need to export. And it's good we're here and we'll be learning about this. Export is important. In fact, if there's one reason to export, in Nigeria, there's no better time to export because of the current challenge that we are facing within the Nigeria economy. With export, you can achieve economy of scale and reduce unit cost because you are able to increase the volume of your shipment. You are able to increase the volume of your shipment. You are also able to build resilience against recession and sustainable business. A number of businesses today are having issues because they've not been able to think outside of Nigerian economy. And for any business, either you are in services or you are selling goods, it's unwise to depend on only one economy because anything can happen in that economy that will require you begin to think of outside. So if you're already thinking of outside, it then makes it easier for you, particularly selling outside, either product or service. It creates opportunity for the business to grow. If the local market is crowded, you can go outside to be able to export and get more market. Diversification of market and revenue. Diversification of market and revenue. And of course, earning of foreign exchange. And that is very important considering what is currently going on in Nigeria today. A number of importers, for one reason or the other, have not been thinking of this. Or were not thinking of this. And strangely. But a number of people now are forced to begin to consider it. They are forced to begin to consider it. But we are not supposed to be forced to consider export. We are not supposed to be forced to consider export. And the reason why I say that is because you are not supposed to be forced to consider export because it should be part of your plan as an importer. If you are an importer in Nigeria, your business is threatened. The future of your business is threatened if you do not generate forex yourself. And some businesses are not generating forex themselves. They are relying on the government to give them forex. And if you are in Nigeria, you know that that is not a wise thing to do. In Nigeria of today, it's not a wise thing to do. Thinking of you relying on the government. Because the government himself needs help to be able to get forex. So you want to earn forex. Such that, okay, for example, as a business, we have some certification programs. And those certification programs, we are doing in conjunction with a school in the US and another one in the UK for bankers and professionals in trade environment in Nigeria. And we have to pay, when these students in Nigeria register, we have to pay the school in the UK and US in forex. So we export ourselves, generate that forex ourselves, and then use the forex to generate to pay. That's exactly what an importer can do. You generate forex yourself as an importer by either exporting a product or services and then use that to fund. So an importer, for example, who is importing from Turkey can be supplying raw material to the same company is importing from in Turkey. Can be supplying raw material. So if you look at what are the raw materials, and you made a very strong point, Turkey is one of the major importers of sesame seed from Nigeria. And then there are other products also that can be exported to the same country. And because you already have that importer you are working with for a long time, you can make them your representative in that market. Forced to innovate. Export force you to innovate. If you begin to export and you see what your competitors are doing in the export market, you are forced to innovate, to go exactly the way they have gone. It also helps you to grow your sales volume because you are now dealing in other markets. You are not relying on only one market. It helps you to have a share of the market abroad, not just depending on the market in the local market. A share of that market abroad. It increases business revenue and profitability. It can help you jumpstart a sustainable forex revenue. It helps to kickstart plan for retirement, like someone that came here for retirement. It's actually, let me tell you the interesting about export. You can export without stress. What I mean is this. You don't need to go into the bush. I export finished goods. I don't need to go into the bush. I have manufacturers that produce for me. Look at one of the products I export. This is one of my products. This is one of the products I export. Pap. So I don't need to go into the bush. I don't need to be traveling up and down. I'm in Lagos. I talk to the manufacturer who is also in Lagos, even though the factory is in Ogun State. Send the money, pay him in advance, produce the goods and ship to me, and I ship abroad. So as a retiree, I don't need to stress myself, and I can still do business and still earn some income, even though I won't have to go into the bush, because I don't necessarily have to do agro commodities. I can do value-added manufactured goods. And I can choose to do agro-commodity also. If I have the energy to go into the bush or go up country to be able to buy those raw materials. Longer product life cycle. If I am an exporter and I'm exporting goods out of Nigeria, I can extend my product life cycle. What does that mean? That means I can extend the life cycle of my product. The product starts from after you produce, you begin to sell, it goes into the growth stage, it gets to maturity and begins to decline. When my product gets into the maturity in this market, if I begin to export another market, it will start a new life cycle in that market. It will start a new life cycle in that market. Maximize free trade agreement. Maximize free trade agreement. That's another benefit. I can maximize free trade agreement. There is an agreement in Africa called African Continental Free Trade Agreement that if I understand trade very well, I can maximize that agreement and trade within the African continent. It helps me to have new market and new source of revenue. I can obtain government incentive, the export expansion grant. I can pay my import bill if I'm an importer and I need to pay in forex. I can quit dependence on domestic economy. If there is recession in the domestic economy, I can quit dependence on that domestic economy and begin to consider export. Quit dependence on domestic economy. Why do you need to consider export? Risk diversification. I diversify my risk. It is unwise to earn only in your domestic market. It is better to earn in domestic market and export market. Domestic market and export market. Export helps you to store up your assets on forex. Store up your assets in forex. Some people are converting their assets to forex through export. Instead of keeping naira, they're keeping dollars because they want to preserve the value of their wealth. It helps you to tap into the opportunities in the export market. Utilize idle capacity. If you have, there's a huge opportunity in the export market. The total export market, do you know that the export volume in the world now is about 24.5 trillion trading goods. Trading services is about 6 trillion. Total trade altogether about 30 trillion. 30 trillion. That's a huge market that I can take advantage of. Utilize idle capacity. Verify global acceptance of your product. You have a product for export, like the moringa, the person processing, he call it superfood. To verify the acceptance, maybe you need to do some modifications to be able to get it accepted. It helps to win both at home and abroad. You earn extra profit from market abroad. And you are able to yearn for more improvement because of competition and zero in on the potential of your product in the export market.